Now we're going to minimize this. We go not done, but just whoops. Here we go. Back out of this. Oh, okay. So see this thing up here says Zoom. Okay. All right. You guys are live now.
There you go.
Yep.
Okay. I'll call the meeting of the Harpers Ferry Board of Zoning Appeals fourth quarter meeting to order. Today is Monday, December 20th. It is 4 p.m. I am David Simmons, the chair. We have also Lynn Petroconis, a member of the BZA, and Chad Godier, a member of the BZA, and we have 2 vacant seats. So anyone listening, if you want to become part of the BZA, please apply to the town hall. Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda. We have 5 agenda items on there.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make second.
Okay, any discussion, and we want to change the order? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we'll start with the meeting minutes from our last special / administrative meeting, which occurred on July 27th, 2021. I was present, Chad was present, Lynn was not present at that meeting, so need a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the July 27th meeting.
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
Okay, I'll second. Any discussion?
The only change was the little note down on the bottom.
Oh, who the minutes were submitted by
Yes.
us. So, yeah. Let's remove that motion. I'll move that we approve the minutes with the change that the minutes were submitted by David Simmons, chair.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And Lynn, you abstain. She wasn't at the meeting. Okay. Alrighty. Second item is discussion, Article 134 of the Harpers Ferry ordinances deals with the Board of Zoning Appeal and how we work. And it had a couple of changes in there, but they were really small. So I don't know if you guys looked at it, but I figured I'd bring it up. Do you?
I did print it out, I just wasn't sure what the first changes.
Yeah, so what they did, I never got a track changes version, but I kind of, it's so short, I just read through it. It was really language changes where, like in the very beginning of our establishment, it changed the word, the wording in the second line. It says, for the purpose of hearing and determining appeals, reviewing any order requirements, decisions, or determinations made by, and then basically it says, by an administrative official or board charged with the enforcement of any ordinance, rule, or regulation regarding the use of land or premises. They changed that phrase, the use of land or premises, to just zoning. So any ordinance or rule or regulation regarding zoning within the incorporated areas of the town, blah, blah, blah. So nothing, it's just that matches state language, and that's all they did. And similarly in 134.08, I think they really made sort of a grammatical change because the way it was written, so 134.08A, that's what got changed. Everything else is the same. And it says the Board of Zoning Appeals has the following powers and duties. And it says, it says we can hear, review, and determine appeals from an order, requirement, decision, or determination made by. And then what they switched was, it said made by an administrative official or planning commission. And now they've changed it to made by the planning commission or an administration official charged with enforcement of a zoning ordinance. So they kind of added that language in there.
Does that match the
Just-
state ordinance or
It's
state?
matching the
language
state
too?
code again.
Okay.
So it's just clarifies that it's not any administrative official. It's just the administrative official who can deal with zoning ordinances. I think is what the,
The enforcement of
zoning ordinances, yeah. If you can read my writing, I've got it right here. So this actually moved on the other side, yeah. So it's just kind of nothing that changes the way we do our business. It's just matching the state code. So we can, if it,
Is there anything that we have to approve on this or vote on or nothing? It's all been done through town council.
Town council, yeah.
Okay.
Good
So
ordinance,
just
yep.
an awareness change.
Yep, yep.
Or, okay.
So that's that. Yeah, everything else I went through, I didn't see any changes, so. It would have been nice to get a track change version of it.
Yeah, that makes
Send
it
it
so
out.
much easier when you don't have so much stuff.
Okay, third item on the agenda, status of vacancies. Lynn probably knows better than anybody. I don't know. We don't have anybody applying, right?
Did we advertise back when we met back in July?
We've,
We did.
it's down at the post office.
Yeah, I've seen it. I just,
It's always there. So, and I think the planning's got the same issue. I don't know about the water rights. Yeah,
any thoughts on? Is there any new blood?
actually, that's Hap. I said, Hap, you wanna come back on? She's like, I'm retired and,
Yeah.
that's fine. She's done her civic duty. I don't know. Maybe we can find some.
What about, Brian or Kathy? Renee?
There are possibility, I think maybe Brian was asked about the planning commission. and
I'm sure he was hit up, so he
interested.
already got to it.
But I think he's still available, so it's possible that.
And there's a young couple right down the street from them, closer to Washington Street, that have a small child, and I can't remember what their names are. They're in that brick house. If you're gonna go to the left on,
Not the loves, they love.
yeah, the younger couple, yeah, I think
Behind
it's it.
Brian Campus house.
Down on the street toward Washington.
And the people who moved into my house. the
Yes,
Locks,
the rocks.
Good. I kind of, when we were at closing, I kind of said, hey, we. No, they can't be on the BZA because I would have to be here for 3 years.
Yeah, I was just looking at that
Oh,
today, so
shoot.
that applies
Yeah,
to
but
all
planning,
these people
like,
That
Oh,
doesn't
really?
apply to all those people.
shoot.
we just discussed.
Yeah, because Brian and Kathy never lived here in town, they own property, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Well, that deflates my balloon.
Yeah,
Yeah, new blood. That was out.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, we should think about it and.
But it is being
Yeah,
advertised, there's
doors.
nothing that we can do to update anything, put it back out there. Something
Um,
we need to renew.
I mean, clearly our advertising isn't working, or we don't have that many people. It's better that we don't have that many people in town to do this, so,
A lot of people have kind of rotated through various things
yeah,
that I know over the years.
yeah. I mean,
What else have you been on?
What about Ed? Want to come back,
A great addition.
you know? She might want to, so.
We all can look.
Well, guys. Yeah, so, and we still need alternates is great to have. I mean, it's just,
Have to
Just-
take an alternate position either. You don't think?
she might. But we had that, the alternates would come to the meetings too.
Mhm.
And for a while there, it got busy. Obviously, this year wasn't as busy. So, think about it. I don't have a lot of control over it, really. The other thing is, okay, the last item is discussion of process improvements. So that sort of goes back to the minutes from the last meeting. So I was charged with talking to the mayor about various items, basically about how the gaps we see in that process and try to make it more understandable by the applicant and so we get better applications when we are ready to meet instead of asking for site plans all the time and stuff like that. So he was very receptive to the items that are listed here in the minutes. So like the idea of getting training, the idea of possibly getting help from professional planners and local planners or engineers to help Kevin, helps the town kind of develop some systems that work and can stay in place. So the one thing he said is he was gonna do is, they're in the middle of their budget reconciliation for the half year. He's gonna see if it's possible to shift monies around, get money to get a planner or engineering firm on retainer to kind of backstop Kevin and the town, start creating these checklists and these, like the tracker for the 45-day limit.
Right.
Applications, that kind of thing. So I thought that was really good. He asked me for if I knew of those kind of firms locally, and the only one I could tell him was that Baker firm out of Hagerstown that Region 9 has told us about in the past. Like I know Charlestown uses them for some of their engineering work that they need to review. And I know when I talked to Matt Pennington at Region 9, he said, yeah, they have a set hourly rate with all of the counties of Eastern Panhandle. I think we can hire them. You just have to set up a scope of work and you pay them directly from the town. So I said I'll put together a list as best I can. If you guys have firms locally that that have, it'd be nice to have planners and engineers to me, but if we had one or the other, it's better than what we got. So I'm not looking for perfect, I'm looking for better. So
since I missed that meeting, what is the planner, like, what's that role?
like helping Kevin with it. A lot of times I'll get an email from Kevin about interpreting the rules, and I always tell him what I think, but I'd rather have a planner. And sometimes when he asks me, I'll call a planner in the county or Charlestown and ask them. It would be nice just that he has that person in his back pocket just to sort of, okay, I think this is a variance, but I'm not sure. And the variance of what? Because I think sometimes he gets confused as to what are we varying from? Like what rule actually is this variance?
Having been through this process of the times, there is a lot of gray area.
Yeah.
Questions a lot. He gets project permit applications, and sometimes there isn't an issue. Sometimes there is. A lot of times there is.
Or he doesn't find the issue and it comes to us and we say, well, wait a minute, this fence, it's a fence. Like the McIntyre one, he didn't see the fence one because
We need to change it. Well, that ordinance needs to change.
it's slowly
Yeah.
change. It's all I know.
The other question would be is what kickstart that process, if he does have a question or a need about something that's in the ordinance permit package. That's presented to him, does he send that to you and ask a question? We consult with other entities.
I think he goes straight to a planner. And
So maybe that might curb some of the stuff coming to us.
Yeah.
A little bit and be helpful to him.
Yeah. And then like the things like a site plan being missing from an application, to me,
That should be in a checklist.
that should be a checklist, and they can help them develop a checklist. And maybe we talked about training too. It's like training, like, you really got to make sure these things are in order before you hand it off to the BZA or the plant or whoever he does. So I'm feeling like that person could be, or that agency, Baker, whoever it becomes, it could be the institutional memory of like, no, this is how we do it. Let's say Kevin walks away in 3 years and we have to continue. Now we've got a firm that at least understands our process. They're professionals in the world. It's not a steep learning curve for them.
Right.
That's true. And they can help him or the next person sort of, oh yeah, this is how we do it. Here's the form. Make sure that form gets filled out. What's this part of the form? And they can answer a form like,
Is there anything that can be done and I'm looking at the permit package behind you, and I filled out a number of those to streamline that, to make sure people know exactly. I know, for instance, over by where you and I live, Paul and Debbie bought Jim Prentice's house, like the garage. And he had contacted me the other day and said, well, what exactly do I need? And I said, permit package. It's a lot of it's there, but for a person that has never done anything like that, gone through that process, they don't know what the site plan means.
yeah,
They don't know what a stakeout means. They don't know what certain requirements on that paperwork are. So
yeah,
how do you pass that hurdle with an applicant so it's streamlined as much as possible? Because what this is meant off the most, what makes them upset is it getting kicked back. Hey, you need this, you need that, but there's no
yeah,
direction and
yeah.
and I don't know if that's really something that is our fault, or is it just because there's a lack of understanding the applicant's part of it. through that. So how do you bridge that gap?
I know.
Because it gets frustrating. They put it in, they think that process has
Yep.
started mentally. And 2 weeks later, they get kicked back. They're like, you need a site plan, you need a grading plan, you need this, you need a variance letter, and all these other things. So
Yeah, yeah.
to me, it almost seems like they would have to, like a prerequisite of turning that in would be to meet with Kevin. And then if he has questions, he can kick it over to this other firm. And say, you know, this is what you're gonna need in this certain circumstance. Because every little project's different.
Yeah. And there's a lot, like, there can be a lot in a project that when you first glance at it quickly, like, just, you gotta kind of
Absorb
walk
it for a
through
little
it,
bit,
absorb
yeah,
it, and
yeah.
say, oh, I really need to think about the height. I didn't think about the height, or, you know,
All those things.
yeah, so,
Well, and it's also different when you have like an architect or a professional contractor putting this all together versus a do-it-yourself
Homeowner, yeah,
project. Or
yeah.
Right.
I've been in that position where we didn't know anything about, you know, we've never done this kind of thing before, and yeah, we feel it would be helpful to have a way to have more explicit instructions.
I know.
We get a lot of contractors and architects that have never done anything in town, in which jurisdictions are a little different. To me, it would make sense that that applicant, it should say on there, meet with zoning ordinance compliance officer. You know, once you have that package assembled, have a meeting, it's a requirement.
Yep. Yeah.
And the understanding at the time is to start there, so Kevin can kind of push them in a direction a little bit, help them. Because it is kind of convoluted, and there is a lot of information that needs to cover.
Yep.
You're talking about looking at all the ordinances and requirements that we have now, it's pretty convoluted.
That's, I think larger municipalities do that kind of thing where someone's there,
You need planning and zoning.
9 to 5. and
Yeah.
people come in, hey, I wanna build this.
Right.
What do you need to think about? I'm like, here's our checklist, dude.
So that may be something
Yeah.
I would like us to see explore as a prerequisite meeting. You know, once that
Yeah,
person, individual, contractor, architect, or whomever's
Yep.
submitting that information, have a meeting with Kevin.
yeah,
And he doesn't have to give an answer like, hey, this looks fine, or you need to go back and do this. You know, they could meet, and then he can email them back after consulting with with this other entity.
Yep, yep.
That might be helpful. We don't
Yeah.
see a ton of applications come through, but
I agree. I think that's,
I've
That's
got
kind of
another one
cool.
coming in this
Purpose.
winter. For me, it's easy. 'Cause I
yeah,
have to
well, your
process stuff.
application was like, that was our gold standard when we got that, we're like, I have to ask about site plan. I think it was missing like some obscure thing about a couple of square footage of something. It's like, that's easy to work with, you know, some of the stuff we got, we're not even getting a site plan. That's like,
So how do we get that information to the applicant and then make sure that there's an understanding of what is required? And I think Kevin would be the key to that process.
Yeah.
I know people get frustrated when they turn stuff in and back. It's
yeah. I mean, Greg was talking about
What do you
having,
mean? When you started a month ago?
well, then, like, you know, when there's only 3 of us, that's another issue. Like, there's only 3 of us. If people had to do something on the holidays, like this one.
Right.
You go away on vacation, or you know, you're visiting family. It's like, we don't have a quorum.
Yeah, we don't have staff. We don't need exactly.
Let's see. So, yeah, that was, we did talk about like that kind of thing, like a checklist that'll help an applicant as well as Kevin, or 2 separate, whatever, but like, just, it helps the whole idea is to get these professionals who've done this, and they probably have seen, you know, various town processes, and they know which ones work well and don't have conflict, you know, with the applicants being upset with it being conflict, like you're saying. That's that would be ideal if we get someone like that. But think about firms you know, you've dealt with some
Like you have a lot of-
firms maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, if you're comfortable with somebody and know that they can probably handle that.
Yeah, I'll call that one too and see what you might know. I'll call around
Resource for that.
and see what's out there, but I think it'd be huge if we could kind of get that going in the right direction.
Is there a civil architectural firm out there that?
Remember we did the library, we did there's an architectural firm, Grove and Del Olio. So
That was a good problem.
let's see what they've got. I'm not sure they're more architects than they are planners, so it's more design oriented than, this is like mechanical, a lot of this is just mechanical.
Yeah.
You know, just processes.
Is there anything we could decide on now to add to that permit package? Do we wait, contact and talk with the firm and say this is what we're looking at? I don't think, just throw this out there, I don't think it would be a bad idea to have the requirement on the permit package to meet with Kevin. The applicant has to, part of this
Yeah.
process is meet with Kevin.
Yeah.
Even if we don't have this firm set up at this time, at least you'll get a face with the applicant, in the package, and you'll be able to, then maybe you'll be able to just decipher that information quickly and say, okay, this is what you need
Yeah,
now.
I mean, Pat was just talking about the very issue, like somebody came in, Kevin's on the phone, and she wanted to talk to him, like, if he could, yeah, or set a time. I mean, I remember when Sean Amos was on, or one was on this board, and one of the first things he said, why don't we set a day where he's here, or a time, or 2 times a week, where people come in with applications and ask questions, that kind of thing.
It could be his phone number on there, the town phone number, and they schedule a time and a meeting.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
before you hand this in big bold letters, you must meet with the
Yeah.
zoning compliance
Yeah.
officer to go over your package and
Yeah.
answer any questions and concerns. You know, some people will look at it as kind of like, "Why don't I do that?" But it'll help a lot of people out. It's like,
That's a good
because
idea.
we just end up looking bad.
I know, we just look
Sounds-
like we're.
They turn
nobody's
it
talking
in and
to
they
the other
expect the
guy,
wheels are in
right?
motion.
Yeah,
And they're really not. It's with a lot of these things.
So I can talk to Greg about, I guess it would probably be where they have to take the application form and add a checkbox, like meet with the ordinance compliance officer, and the town council would have to approve it, is what I'm.
Prior to turning in your application package,
meet
you
with.
must meet with.
Yeah.
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 I think that would be helpful for the
I
applicants
think you're right.
and for Kevin too.
And we can change that once we get a professional on staff, and they're, you know, they can figure out what works, but that's.
Right,
That's a
and then
good
if
way
they
to-
have, if we have to use them as a resource, Kevin can reach out.
Yep.
He'll reach out to you, BZA.
Yeah.
I think that would be a wise thing to do.
Okay. I'll put that on my to-do list, and I won't wait 6 months. to do it.
But you're right, it's a little box with a little verbiage on that. I
Yeah.
think that would be something easy to put
That's a
on.
good idea. That's kind of it. I mean, I didn't really talk to him about, one of the things I think we talked about at that meeting was just getting documents. Like, I'll make sure the hearing documents for this next hearing, January 10th, get on the website, but I feel like I have no control over that process at all.
Yeah, it's all through the office.
Yeah, so I hope it gets up there in a timely manner, but I did not bring that up with amendment to.
They're just pretty good at passing on. All right, I retract that.
I don't know, we've had minutes up there, like, even just our meeting minutes should get up there in a timely manner, and
And Kevin Carden is responsible for all of that.
so.
How do we? You know, what's the process to make sure that we get up there in time fashion, other than trying to send an email saying, hey,
And nag.
yeah. the neg.
Incessant nagging. That's what everyone loves to do. Okay. So I don't know, I mean. That's another, you know, town office process, maybe the office house.
Well, they have planning, landmarks, BZA, just regular town stuff, getting the website all the time, so it's a lot of information that he's got to follow through and get out.
Yeah,
Is he the right?
well, he's hired privately to do this, like, that's the thing, he is a contractor to the town,
Oh, I didn't know
and he
that.
does this, so. It's one of those things where,
That he was just doing it because he was a good guy.
so I don't know. It's tricky. And it's a lot of information, I mean, I would not want to do
Well,
this.
it's timing and dates and making sure that stuff goes to the page, yeah.
Yeah, like, and it comes in from all different places, so that's hard. I'll bring up with Greg at some point when I chat with him, but,
I wanna back up just a little, if you're done.
Yep.
Back up to vacancies. I know Lynn, you were up in January, I know I was up in January, is there anything you need to do or vote on this
The
next
town
month?
just did it.
The town just, they did, okay, so that's done. Okay. Cause I'll have to say, I fell down and did not send my letter, I just basically sent you an email and I thought about
they put it, they
counted
they
that.
put him in.
I think I sent that letter.
I have an email.
Yeah, she had
I
my
got
number.
enough for follow-up on that one, sorry, but apparently
Yeah.
desperation seems to move mountains.
Exactly.
All right,
No
that was
qualm.
my question,
You're good.
nothing on that.
Did you and Greg talk about having that in charge?
Oh, yeah, we did. So he gave me permission to talk to Ken about, we're gonna decide, have him lay out some groundwork as to when we should have an attorney present at our hearings. But to me, like, the fence thing at January 10th, me, that's a no.
Yeah.
Because, like, I just, so we have some guidelines, and maybe the result of that conversation might be, we put something in writing, and this is, we'll say, Board of Zoning Appeals shall have an attorney present at these types of hearings, or something.
A lot of that's gonna be zoning use and variance request stuff, I would think.
Yep.
But that's what I think created all of this, and got that started was reviewing some stuff before that.
Yeah, and also just in terms of, getting some stuff about how much money we're spending on attorney fees, that there's some questions that could be asked in advance or right after the meeting, via email or phone call with the attorney and not require him to spend
Sit
his
in,
time.
listen to
Yeah.
us do this.
Yeah,
Yeah, good call. That's a good point. That's trickier because as long as I'm asking the questions the way you want them to be asked, or maybe we all get on the phone together with them, you know what I mean? Like, because if I ask it the wrong way and come to meeting and you say, oh, yeah, I thought I did, but maybe not, and then we're stuck with a hearing, we gotta make a decision, so it might be that we try to get on a conference call together. And we
Yeah.
can talk to them.
Yeah.
In those cases, so, okay. All right, except if we got on a conference call together, then we're technically having a meeting. Aren't we? So I'll ask him that question too.
so what's that word that we don't have executive session, we have,
Oh, yeah.
What's the word?
Private deliberations.
yes, deliberation, so does that count as?
Private deliberations. But we'd have to notice them.
Yeah,
Like, so we'd be like noticing the meeting, and it's actually a conference call with Ken.
so we'd be better off just probably going back to our having him in it.
Or an email, so it's in writing.
Can you
So
do
we
that?
know what you're asking, we all agree on what you're
Yep,
asking,
yep.
but you email.
Yep, which I usually do anyway before a call or something like that. I'll use
Yeah.
this is how I'm gonna ask a question, but that would be good. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe email doing it in writing is better.
Yeah, occasionally you have something so complicated that you have to have follow-up conversation, but I'm guessing most of the time it's like, there's this one thing we're not sure about.
Has Kevin brought up anything that we need to discuss or change or do that he
We've
finds
got-
frustrating?
Kevin Hamilton?
Yeah.
No, I
Other than the
think,
fence issue.
yeah, the fencing, what's that one?
Yeah, I see that.
That's just like, oh,
It's a little
it's,
phrase in each email.
if I could show you the route with this fence or it's stuff like that. So one of the things that happened is Bill Lombach and I wrote this many, 5 years ago, I don't even know. But it was like, we wrote specifically the language up to but not on the property line for the fence, because we thought, and I was looking at rules around the county, and that it looked like Shepherdstown, Charlestown did that. I don't remember if I read Ransom, but some municipalities do put on the property line, but then that involves agreements between property owners, and we're just like, I don't want to write that language in an ordinance, I'm not that guy. So that's why we did up to, not on, but I think what happened was somebody suggested they put that it can go on the property line as long as you get approval, and that led to this long process, and now there's other things in there too, but that's kind of the genesis of the delay.
Approval from adjoining property owner?
Yeah, because if you're building, like you're joint owner of the fence, I don't even know, like if would you have to face there's a lot of
Yeah, who
issues
gets the
there.
ugly side of the fence?
Exactly.
I
So,
don't like the stain color chairs.
Right.
That's.
and then, you sell your house and the neighbor comes in and something happens, well, I wouldn't want to touch that personally.
I can see if it's on the street side, maybe. Yeah, I can see it's an issue when it's adjoining.
Yeah, well, maybe street side, you're right. Then it's town, I mean, the right of way there.
You have to make sure you're actually. on the line.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, a lot of these fences are put in by contractors anyway, that don't really, I mean, they'll run a straight line to keep it straight, but how many times can you run from a staked out lot from stake to stake? And that's, the fence isn't going around a big tree and then coming back in, it's 3 inches on the neighbor's property, Goes back to.
Yeah, and that's what I did with me, like I told Greg, like Kevin needs inspection checklists, like he's gotta go out and do that stuff, like he's gotta tape measure things.
Yeah,
I don't
and
think
what
he's-
does
I
he
don't
pull
think
off
he's doing
of
that.
if he can't run a line straight from one point to another?
Yeah, well, that's what I tell him, I said, you need 3 corners at least
Mhm.
identified for a good survey.
Which requires somebody to survey the property if you want to put a fence in, which is a constant.
Which is a cost.
Grant. Not for us to figure out.
All right, so yeah, I'll probably have that discussion with Kim maybe this week, depends on how, tomorrow I'm dedicated to Christmas shopping. Maybe Wednesday. Anything else you guys want to talk about? or-
Any new business or anything?
I don't even know any applications coming down, yeah,
That's the problem.
I will probably have one the end of January for a small house up on Henry Clay Street, but other than that, I don't know anything.
yeah, Kevin hasn't mentioned anything.
Mhm.
Okay. So I need a motion to adjourn the meeting,
That motions.
I'll second it.
all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
But
Touch the screen on the left.
Chris.